The moment when Superman stopped being a hero. Guys, I'm not really sure that ever actually happened, but let me know in the comments when you think that it might have been, if it actually did happen. In the meantime, let's see what they say. Original link in the description.
Up in the sky, look! It's a bird!
Best Superman ever.
It's Superman!
Fleischer.
Superman
Best
is
Superman
one
ever.
of the most enduring icons of pop culture. Known for his unbreakable morals,
Yeah?
infinite kindness, and classic American ideals, the
For the most
character of
part.
a strange visitor from the stars has been a beloved piece of global iconography for close to 85 years. And yet, there's one moment in 2013's Man of Steel where Superman stopped being a hero. Before we get too deep into today's episode, please be sure to like.
Yeah, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also don't forget to check out his video and subscribe to his channel. And remember, this is a brand new superhero reaction channel. Subscribe.
Comment and subscribe for more videos just like this. Recall, if you can, the recent past of the 2000s, a decade when everything seemed like it could be possible for the brave new frontier that was the...
Those were good days, guys. Those were good days. We had Spider-Man coming out, Iron Man, Superman, Batman, every man you can think of. Not the women so much. They started fixing that later.
Superhero movie. Nolan's Batman trilogy had just demolished the box office, Iron Man jump-started the MCU, and WB was mustering a new effort at reigniting the Superman brand after a bit of a false start with Superman Returns.
Exciting times.
Initially, it seemed like Brandon Routh was going to don the red and blue again in a sequel titled Man of Steel, which would have put...
We just watched a video on that. Yeah, go check that one out.
Forward a more action-oriented, streamlined story. Pitched by Bryan Singer as more of a film like Wrath of Khan compared to Returns, Star Trek, the motion picture, the film seemed to get traction internally at Warner's, before, tragically, going the way of Krypton itself. Remember, in 2006 when Superman Returns was released, Warner's was taking the strategic approach of giving their flagship characters to high-profile directors and giving them absolute control. They took a gamble on Nolan, and it worked with Batman. Better than anyone could have anticipated, so now they were rolling the dice on the man who had helped put X-Men on the map. However, audiences didn't quite respond to Superman Returns' slow, romance-heavy story, and more specific...
No, it wasn't that different, though, than the success of Batman Begins. The only difference is the budget. Batman Begins had a similar, both critical and financial return. You know, again, not the budget, but the numbers were very similar.
Many audience members found the idea of Superman being an absentee father hard to swallow. Superman was supposed to be the best of all of us. Putting the character in a situation at the end of the film where he just hovers over his son's bedroom watching him sleep isn't exactly the best place to end a Superman movie.
Not only that, but most moms would be like, "You've been gone 5 years. You don't deserve that. Get out of here, you creep."
Will we see you?
I'm always around.
On paper, you can see what
creeping over your child's bedroom.
Singer and co-writers Michael Dougherty and Dan Harris were trying to do. They were trying to provide the squeaky clean Smallville native a darker shade, something to bring him into the...
Why do they always do that? Why? Even James Gunn, to a mild extent, who brought the character back to this moral hierarchy, he was like, well, let's not mess with Superman, but let's mess with his parents. Like, why? Why is that what we do to make Superman relatable? To give him that, you know, dark, edgy, maybe he's not so super kind of thing. No, I like knowing that he's for sure super, but wondering how in the world he's going to get this situation. You know, 3 bombs at once. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I like. Golden Age style, baby.
They were trying to deconstruct what a hero is. They were attempting to push the flagship standard bearer of idealized Americana into being something else. They were trying to analyze what a hero does when there is no right answer. Only problem being, it just makes him look bad. And
that's not a bad analyzation, but as he just said, it made him look It made him look bad. You know what I mean? It made him look like he wasn't good. And that Superman should never just look bad. He shouldn't look that way.
Superman should never be in that position. This led to the movie underperforming, DC and Warner's thinking about maybe going ahead with a sequel, and then eventually scrapping it to move into the cinematic universe business. Thus, the studio brought in Zack Snyder to direct a script that Nolan and journeyman scriptwriter David Goyer had developed as a new take on the beloved Metropolis Marvel. The film that would eventually be produced was pulling in lots of positive buzz all throughout.
What was that guy wearing? You got a VR headset before VR was a thing?
The film that would eventually be produced was pulling...
Oh, no, that's I can't remember his name. That snowboarding guy. Sean something.
a positive buzz all throughout production. Everyone seemed excited to witness what the reigning god of cinema, Christopher Nolan, would shepherd.
How small is Zack Snyder?
Everyone seemed excited to witness what the reigning.
Or how big is Michael Shannon? God, look at him. I'm more afraid of Zod than ever now, actually.
God of cinema, Christopher Nolan, would shepherd into fruition. Remember, this is coming right off the back of the climax of his Dark Knight trilogy.
It's not who I am underneath.
Yep.
But what I do that defines me.
You know, I thought we were going to get a Nightwing movie or something. Didn't happen.
The initial trailer, which showcased a somber contemporary visual style while still putting emphasis on the hopeful and aspirational core of the character, instantly excited fans. It looked like a bold new direction for the character, one that was gritty and grounded, and
that scene right there is one of the best looking scenes in the movie, but I gotta say, guys, I don't think that movie looks very realistic. Pretty, beautiful, good, but not realistic. Superman Returns plane scene, still better than that, which is, one of the most realistic parts of the movie.
Deeply emotional. And yet, much of that tone was nowhere to be found in the finished film.
Yeah.
Man of Steel, while beautifully shot and very well acted, has a few major stumbling blocks. In its efforts to contemporize the Man of Steel, it significantly alters key elements of his backstory, putting forward a more jaded,
Let's see what you're
cynical,
talking about.
and pessimistic view of humanity.
Oh,
There's
of
literally a
humanity.
scene where it
See,
almost seems.
It's okay if you have a jaded, cynical, pessimistic view of humanity. It's not okay for Superman to have that view, and it's not okay for him to be those things. So far, there's no problem.
Like Pa Kent is encouraging young Clark to become a supervillain.
That's a
You
problem.
just have to decide what kind of man you want to grow up to be, Clark, because
I know you guys argue with me on this. I love this movie, but I do not love the John Kent. John Schneider, he's John Kent. It's in his name, John.
character or bad, he's
Gonna change the world.
he's going to change the world.
On one level, it's understandable why Goyer and Nolan were so obviously grappling with what the right way to bring Superman into modern times was. But so many of the moments from this film just feel mean-spirited and backwards. That's to say nothing of the scene where Clark lets Pa Kent die in order to preserve his secret
that's
identity.
backwards, yeah.
But the less said about that moment, the better. The true sin of Man of Steel is that Snyder, Nolan, and Goyer thought it was important to give Superman an arc centered around the decisions that he must make in order to shoulder the burden of being Superman. Superman's respect for life is one of the many ways in which the character inspires us.
Yes, and that is why James Gunn's movie, when I came out of the theater, I was feeling so good because he had captured the heart of Superman. You could see it. I came out saying the word character. That confuses people. They're like, that's not the character of Superman. He doesn't say, what the hey, dude, and all this. I'm like, okay, what I mean is the heart. Not necessarily the way he's acting, but what Superman is about. You could see it there. Like, it was no doubt in my mind. I'm like, yes, this guy loves life.
It's a consistent element across every version of the character. He doesn't kill. Even dating all the way back to the Fleischer cartoons, whenever Superman defeats the villain, he always makes sure to save the ne'er-do-well in question.
Okay, yes, the Fleischer cartoons do not have him killing. This is true. But just 2 years earlier, 1938, Action Comics #2, Superman does kill. He throws 2 dudes out a window. But they deviated from that quickly. So I do like to point out, though, that Superman did kill very early on. And it wasn't anything big. It was just a couple of thugs, you know?
Never lets anyone die because he's an eternal optimist. He believes that everyone has good in them. Everyone can be redeemed.
That is the Superman, guys, and the Clark, and the that is it. If they could just bring that to cinema. Perfect. Perfection.
Snyder and Goyer didn't feel like this idea translated well to a post-9/11 world, so they constructed a third-act sequence in which Clark is forced to choose between killing Zod and saving a group of humans. Superman Returns' effort to contemporize the character were bungled, strange, and didn't fit right with the character we had known up until that point. Giving Superman a son? Sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so giving Superman a son, fine. We've had John Kent. We've had Superman's secret identity. He's got, daughters and stuff. But he didn't raise that kid. 5 years down the road, he's never even met him. You know what I'm saying? And I get you're like, well, but he didn't know he had a kid. That's true.
That idea has even...
He didn't know he had a kid. But the fact that he would develop that much of a relationship with Lois and then just go and leave Instead of like sending a Kryptonian probe, he just leaves to go see if maybe there's people that. That's just not very Superman-like. It's
Has
just
been
not.
incorporated into the comics, with Jonathan Kent being a major part of the Superman family in the years since. Furthermore, the two Kent brothers on the CW are great additions to
Put in the comments if you liked Jordan Elsass, that first Jonathan Kent, better than the new guy that came on season, what was it, 3?
Superman and Lois, but giving Superman a son he's estranged from and that he doesn't take responsibility for, that's a step too far. It's easy to see why, when this forward-looking experiment didn't land, Goyer, Snyder, and company decided to do a bold new take on the character, but frankly, this type of attitude towards a character that has always been bright and uplifting is just endlessly vexing. So many people claim that Superman is boring or hard to write because he's all-powerful.
I have heard that my entire life. He is not hard to write because he's all powerful. He's hard to make a video game on because he's all powerful. But he's not hard to write. You just have to make situations that he has to investigate with Lois to figure out where to use that power and when to use that power. Superman doesn't have to be on screen more than Clark Kent. Clark Kent can be on screen more than Superman, and it makes the Superman moments that much more powerful. For some reason, though, we've moved into a society where the superhero's got to be on there all the time, and the alter egos mean nothing. You know, I hate that. I love Clark Kent.
And has no flaws. And the core of the character isn't about being flawless. It's about him choosing to do the right thing, always, especially when it's difficult.
Yes.
Which puts into stark relief a story where the climax is Superman murdering his arch nemesis. Let's compare.
Sorry, guys, I'm from Texas. Okay, all right. We self-defense, man. This was not murder. It was self-defense, and it was also the self-defense of others. So he made it clear, I'm going to keep killing them unless you kill me. He made it clear. They fought all over the city, what apparently were empty buildings the whole time. And then he's like, no, I'm going to kill these. If that was the only way he could stop him, that's the only way he could stop him. Now, I do wonder if he could break his neck like that. Couldn't he just turn his head up? You know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I guess a forceful, that is weird to go about it that way. I would think that it would be more of like he just had to keep beating him until the guy didn't wake up. You know what I'm saying? That's what I would think would have to happen. But yeah, that's never bothered me. That's never bothered me the way they did that in that movie.
This for a moment to how Marvel handled the introduction of Captain America. He's another squeaky clean, theoretically goody two-shoes character. In the lead up to the first movie, people were saying Marvel wouldn't be able to pull him off as a big budget feature because the country had moved on from that perspective. And yet, they basically kept him extremely true to his core. They didn't try to make him grim, gritty, or brooding. They made him innocent, and yet still have a deep-seated moral code.
That's what people love about Clark Kent, that innocence feel that he has.
That he's very rigid about.
I don't want to kill anyone. I don't like bullies. I don't care where they're from.
It should be self-evident that we all know murdering is wrong. We don't need to commit it to find out for ourselves. During a Comic-Con at Home panel, Goyer said,
you know, we were trying to tell a different kind of Superman story, a Superman story that hadn't been told before.
I didn't know that.
It required us taking some big swings.
Ultimately, this moment, this big swing, would be a problem not just for Superman fans. This type of gritty, nihilistic approach to these characters would echo throughout all of DC's attempted cinematic.
Yeah, we basically took Batman and we're like, let's Batmanify everybody. Batmanify. Well, that's a good word.
Universe. Every false start, misplaced choice, and weird narrative dead end that these films have suffered can be more often than not linked back to this moment. Instead of telling a Superman story that
he's a great Superman. I prefer his Superman more than his Clark. His Clark is a little more Superman in glasses, but he's a great Superman, guys. He gets overlooked just simply because it's so old. People don't like to watch that kind of TV anymore, you know? But he is a great Superman, and she's a good Lois.
Celebrated the character, history, and the specifics of his almost 90-year legacy, they second-guessed it. They tried to bring Superman down to our level instead of inspiring us to his. And this same creative ethos can be seen everywhere.
The whole point of Superman is that it's something he's somebody to aspire to, whereas people are always making him somebody to relate to. He's someone to aspire to. We relate to that Clark Kent part in a sense.
in the DCEU. Just look at everything that happened behind the scenes with both Batman vs Superman and Justice League. It's almost laughable. Today, now that The Flash is thoroughly belly-flopped,
I liked Flash. Graphics are bad, but I thought it was a fun movie. I realized everybody hated Ezra, but I'm not a big celebrity person. Didn't really know much was going on about him, you know? I thought the movie, I love the Back to the Future references. Loved them.
appears that the likelihood of James Gunn's new, very frustratingly named DCU will be a completely clean slate, which frankly is probably the best for everyone. Despite their missteps, there was some really great stuff in the DCEU. Unfortunately, it was drowned out by the blunders. Hopefully Gunn's Superman legacy will present
I also liked Black Adam. I didn't think it was amazing, but I thought it was good.
More timeless and iconic version of the character.
Very Illuminati, though, if you remember the stuff they were doing.
And hopefully, we can get back to Superman being a hero. Well, that's it for this episode.
Guys, let me know what you think. Is that the moment that Superman stopped being, what did he say, a hero? I don't know. I feel like he was a hero in Man of Steel. I wouldn't have liked it if he wasn't. I just feel like they did a lot of visual things that maybe they didn't think logically about. Like, oh yeah, people, buildings, that's going to look bad. But I don't know. I enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to check out my Superman Amazon store where I've got all kinds of Superman stuff in one place. And remember, guys, like Superman, live humbly, do good.